Welcome back to the Tiberium Hangar. Welcome to my 12,000 subscriber special. I just want to say thank you to everybody for making the channel successful. It's up to you guys and all of your comments down below, your likes, subscribes, your views, and all that great stuff. But this is a give back to the community, give back to the viewers, and we're going to be looking at your collections like we do with all these 1,000 subscriber specials. So a lot of great collections. Now I do want to talk about something else before we get into it, and that's keeping up with the Joneses. You don't really have to keep up with the Joneses. If you're just starting out, then you're starting out, your collection is for you. You collect for you collect for what you like, you collect for what makes you happy, not for keeping up with what other people have been doing for the last 26 years. So don't worry about keeping up with the Joneses. Your collection is for you, and it should make you happy and you alone, no one else. But anyway, let's get into these great collections. Hopefully you get some good ideas how to display your collection from all of these great collections. Coming up. Okay, so we're going to start out with Angel's collection, and really an amazing collection. A lot of great stuff in here. And he labels this one his Master Force collection, and it looks pretty good. This is a masterpiece collection here, and a lot of this is the fans' hobby stuff and does look great. Well displayed using risers, and you can see the smaller stuff in the front and the really, really small stuff in the front underneath the risers. Looking excellent. So here we go with some Titans, and the thing about these City Bots, the way to make the City Bots look like they're really huge is using these tiny figures. I think some of them are the Heroes of Cybertron figures, but not 100% sure. But really, really small figures. Now, these aren't Legends. These are even smaller than Legends figures to give that perspective. And that's one way to make a City Bot look like it really is as large as a city. Same thing going on right here with Metroplex and, of course, Trypticon. So, it does look great. There are some airplanes hung in there, and a lot of people feel different ways about hanging airplanes. Guess what? An airplane's made to fly, and in a display, it looks really good. Here we go with some Headmasters, and this does look really nice, but it's a little bit sad. Sad for the fact that we're not going to see Make Toys make the rest of them, and even Fans Toys is making these. So there's going to be a mix of style and stuff, but Fans Toys should start with the ones we're missing, right? But this does look amazing, and also that contact shot. Here's a monster shelf, and it's a mix of Masterpiece and Mainline, and it works. See, here's the thing. If it works, it works, and I think this works. This looks great. Looks amazing. I really like how these look. I might have to get some of these KFCs because they just look really, really nice. So this 6-shot and this Prime seem to go together really well because they have very similar type of color scheme going on right there. So I wonder what he's going to put. It looks like there's room to maybe put a third figure in there, a third character. Wonder what he's going to put in there. Now we're getting into some more of an elaborate setup of his display, which I would actually like to see his entire display in one shot. I didn't get that picture. That would look amazing too. But this really pops right here. You've got lighting from underneath, lighting all over the place. Just looks fantastic. Looks outstanding. I love how he did this. I love how it's set up. Now there's a mixture of different companies, a lot of Impossible Toys in here, but several different mixes of styles from different companies that just work really well, blends well. I love the way this looks. Guilty or innocent? Innocent. Looking at this shelf here now, this is this one of those kind of shattered glass kind of deals, but still looks really nice. I love how it's done. First off, we have a display. He actually put some work into some of the elements in here. The risers are built up as stone looking pieces there. That set looks really nice. And as you can see, it's a bigger one as you go up further back, and it's elevated so that you can see all the figures, you can see all the characters, and everyone looks like they have purpose. That's another thing in a display. Does every figure look like it's there with a purpose, or is it just kind of standing there waiting for the bus? Not in this display. Kind of interesting here also because we've got a Masterpiece display with some great looking figures, but a custom Alcon. So is that what this? I'm sure this is that where Optimus Prime turned into an alligator. So is that what it's called? Anyway, it looks great. And here's another display, kind of a Nero look there, and all of these seem to match. So a nice little theme going on where they all have a similar color scheme from the same sort of era, looking pretty good. So it's interesting when you get some of these repainted figures, and I don't know how much of this was customized by himself either, so these look really nice. Now looking at a couple of Dinobots, and the thing about this is the background, A, it looks like they're really on Dinobot Island, and B, the real world branches and whatever was used in there to look like it's got some vegetation going on, just really interesting. That's real world and a mix of kind of a background in there, and then of course the ground itself. So many different elements at play to make it look like they're on Dinobot Island. Great looking display here going on with Soundwave and Blaster and tracks. So interesting setup with all of this stuff going on in the background, and it's like simple yet effective. And we got a smoke screen going on right here with the use of some cotton, and that is interesting to utilize different elements such as that to create a look of smoke. Really awesome. Just, it's really kind of some cool thinking outside the box. We got some more combiners going on right here, and of course, displaying combiners, it's one of those things, do you want all the combiners on one shelf, or do you want to mix your combiners with other figures to kind of show how big they really are? So there's a couple of different ways to go about it, but this is several combiners in one display, looking pretty good. Another display here using cotton to, I'm guessing, simulate some snow, but still, it looks really good. It looks better, way better to do stuff like this than just kind of a bare shelf. Here we go with some really massive background going on right there. So first off, I'm not 100% sure what was used on the sides and the ground here and all of this, but it looks great. Just, it looks like rock, stone, and all of that kind of stuff. Such a clean look to this. I really like that. And look at all these seekers in here, and we've got triple changers and a lot of great stuff. And then we've got a Jetfire. Here we are on Junkion planet. So this is pretty cool looking too. And knowing that there are, there are more and more and more of these Junkions coming out, but see, I don't think that you need 90 of them to make it look effective. Right here you've got 3, and you kind of feel like there's a whole bunch of them here. Look at the exosuits. You got Spike and Daniel. More and more Seekers. I've got to say, it's going to take Takara or Deformation Space a long, long time to make all these different colors of Seekers and Coneheads and all of that. And this display here looks really nice the way it is. Here's another display with some of those kind of samurai looking bots. And I do want to point out the elements that are used in here to look like rock, to look like it's stone, and I like that. Just, you know, that's kind of the feel that you would get when you watch the show, or you even in the comics and all that kind of stuff. So to bring that to real life is awesome. Who you gonna call? Transformer Ghostbusters. So there's different Transformer Ghostbusters out there, and it looks pretty good, but integrating a few other elements at the same time to kind of give it that feel, especially with the light up sign in the back, and then the clear figures with some shine through there to make them look like us. What else are you going to use clear Transformers for? They're ghosts. They need to be busted. Wait, hold on a second. I said that wrong. Don't bust the clear plastic. Very nice looking Tetrajet collection, and just timeless like these. I will never see these made again. And just, I didn't realize they made so many different ones. They all look really good. You can tell by Angel's collection, he's been at this for a while. Just some nice looking stuff going on, and all the displays works. I would like to see a picture of like all of it in one, just one big picture of how does it all look together, because I think it would look pretty cohesive and pretty cool. And a picture of I don't know, is this homemade or how do you make this? So I've seen a couple of these, and it's that thing from that episode, and it's still pretty cool. And that's huge. Just look how big that thing is. Angel, great collection. Really love it. Thanks for sharing. We're getting into Chris's collection here now. Chris has had an awesome collection, and we've watched it grow and change over the time, over the years. This thing still looks amazing. And again, an overall view of it, looking at the fact that he's got vintage boxed figures behind modern masterpiece, which is an excellent way to display. And I love packaging and how to integrate packaging. We're going to talk about that a little bit as we go to other different ways to integrate packaging. This is one of the best ways I've seen. And there's some empty space from the window, so let's just fill it up with a Unicron. So that makes sense too. And it kind of looks like Unicron's floating out in space with the way that's set up there. But getting into it, let's look at some of these other pictures. As I touched on earlier, some people like to put combiners and the bigger characters all together as one on a shelf, and others like to integrate them with other characters just to show how much bigger the combiner is than the regular characters. And in this case, what you kind of get is a combiner and the team in front of it. So that works also. And I think that's great. That looks good. So with that, especially if you're collecting multiple different ones from different companies, but I think these are actually the same companies, the same version, just broken down. But still, they look great. So looking at all this, it's very cohesive. Do like the box sets and then having the figures out in front of the box sets too. So that's kind of cool. A lot of thought went into that. You could tell. I do want to point out the lighting, and this is probably a sight to see when the lights are out and all you have is the lighting on the shelves. So that's a lot of work and a lot of time and effort to go through to put that together. And I think it really is a big payoff. So lighting is a big deal in a display, and it's always worth it to get it lit up. But it is a lot of work. So anyway, looking at this, I do like a lot of things about this, and I'm not sure how much of what's changed. One thing that I'm kind of curious about, though, is you don't see boxes behind Sandstorm and the contact shot there. So I'm wondering, is there a future plan to get a vintage one, or is there something else planned to go there? Because everything in this is so deliberate that I know leaving that empty is also deliberate. So I'm curious what's going to happen there. And looking at the bottom there, looking at those monster bots, they look great. Looks like we're going to have more monster bots coming in soon, right? I guess you could say more beasts on the way. I also want to point out how good those dinos look lined up right there. And then right below that, gotta love the Jetfire. But you really you've got to see how big is that Jetfire box and how big is that looks like a Fans Toys Jetfire in front of it. So, I mean, that's a pretty tall shelf, and grouping the bigger characters together, that is a big space in there if you know how big that box is. Chris also has a heck of a statue collection going on right here, and these look really nice. Just big, really have a presence. They're lit up, so much going on with this. And I actually didn't know they made this many, so really cool looking. And, you know, I'm not so much into statues myself, but when I see a collection of them, they look really nice like this. Just very impressive. Very, very impressive. And the lighting that goes into lighting up all the statues and all that kind of stuff. So that is something like I never really thought about, was the lighting of the statues and how that looks in a display. And so when you see something like this, you're like, wow, that is awesome. And then the size, like, I don't know so much about this world, but is that character on the right, is he really that big compared to the rest of them? So that's kind of cool too. And the scale of these, do they all scale together well? I think they do. I think all of this works together in that world, that Dragon Ball Z world. It looks amazing. We got more great looking statues here, and I got to tell you that knowing how he sets everything else up, the empty space tells me there's more to come here. So that's an interesting thought. What else is coming? What else is going to be dialing out and filling out these shelves? But still looks pretty good. It looks like to me, it doesn't look like a great start. It looks like a very well procured collection, but it still looks like it's going to grow a bit, but really interesting. And one last look at this corner here. It just looks amazing. Great job, Chris, in this collection. How you display it, and it just continues to grow and evolve over the years, and so keep up that great work. Okay, so we've got some pictures from Gib here. Now, he has an amazing collection, and this picture itself, it looks a little bit less crisp because he's trying to show the lighting elements that he's put into everything, and so that's the big deal here. So when you see this, you see a lit up arc and a Trypticon, and then you can see lighting, ambient lighting behind it, and then you can see the light from the Matrix and all that kind of stuff. And that does work out very well. And this looks nice the way it's set up, and it's one of those top shelf deals, and it works, and it works well. Speaking of lighting up, get put in this, this is the Lewin Resources Optimus Prime with added LEDs inside. So this thing is huge. So it's really kind of hard to get it to figure out how big this is without something next to it. But the lighting inside of it just adds that much more to it. That Lewin Resources, but behind it, I think these are Hot Toys, the Hot Toys Batmobiles, because they are so big next to the Lewin Resource. Now that Michael Keaton Batmobile, the 1989 one, is, in my opinion, the best one ever made. And that Hot Toys one is the best representation. But it's big. It is massive. I really think that Todd McFarlane needs to make a smaller version of that. Put it out at Target, whatever. but that is just amazing looking, isn't it? To make it pop. And then here we go with another picture right here with, this is a custom of a puffer. So showing all of this looks really amazing. He's done some custom work right here. This team looks great. And also there's something they're standing on. I'm sure either he made that himself or he found that, but that's amazing to integrate those kinds of things into a collection. Here we go with more of these figures. Now he's using risers and a big, very big and very clean Masterpiece collection. The way he has it set up, everything is posed, everything looks like it's there for a purpose. Every character has a purpose and it works well and blends well together. And this is a nice Revelations collection. Again, with the Masterpiece, see, in my mind, Classics is always going to be the best. But I've actually been surprised by a lot of these Revelation figures looking really good and just on the level of Classics. So some of these figures are just amazing. So I'm actually highly impressed with where they're going with the Revelations line. But this looks good. This looks really great. And it's going to grow as Revelations hopefully continues. So here's the good guys in the Revelations. And they look great. That Man-at-Arms is probably one of the best figures they've made in Revelations. Next to also Fisto is really spot on. So they've done an excellent job here. And he's already got the Orko and the Savage. Like, how did he get these already? That's impressive. Most impressive, yeah. So getting into some G1 here, this does look really nice. This whole G1 collection backed by a giant Fort Max and just quintessentially one of the greatest things from G1. Just so big, so massive, so over the top, representing the 80s well. So nice looking callback to the G1 era and the vintage era. Here we go with some Masterpiece Decepticon display, looking outstanding. And the way they're displayed with risers, bigger in the back and smaller in the front, and it all works well, and a great character selection for this case. Here we go with some, but this is more like movie characters, kind of a mix of some movie characters, which still works really well, and they're big. These are pretty big and massive and imposing. So nice looking display right there. And I think some of these newer Bumblebee designs are working out pretty well. Here's an overlook at all of these, well, the whole display. But it looks really nice, well lit, and all of the different shelves look like they're there for a purpose. They're cohesive, they make sense, and the big bots at the bottom really work out also. But see, at the same time, they look huge because they got small bots next to them in there, and all of that makes sense. And you can see everything. You can see everything. Not like anything is like, well, I don't see that figure at all. I like it when displays are set up where you can see it all. Alright, so moving into Greg's collection right here. Thank you, Gib. You got a great collection. Greg's got a shelf built in here. Got lighting built in. He's got it separated by eras and different groupings that work very well. Starting at the top, we've got Dinobots. They look great, and they're all working together there, all 5 of them. Swoop being elevated makes a lot of sense. Throwing a wheelie in there, so moving down from there, we actually have a different Grimlock going on. And then some of the 1986 movie working together, so that looks outstanding right there. Use of risers and working that in, and of course the lighting, it all works. Down below that, we've got some Decepticon shelf. Now, I do like how we have sort of a purple floor. The flooring of it is purple. It's a different color, and it does give a bit of a reflection off, which works great. We've got several different characters worked in there. In the back, elevated up, and then of course in the front we have them a little bit lower. We can see everything that's going on in there, so that's very nice. And then below that we have an Arc shelf, so the Arc crew, and it looks great. We got Teletran 1 working in there, and it just looks right. It looks like something you'd see in the cartoon, and all of the different elevations to see all of them really does work too. It's kind of like they're all in there getting ready to go to battle, and that works. And at the bottom we got some helmet collection, which is also pretty cool. I've got to say I got a little soft spot for some of the helmets too, and they look great. awesome looking display. Thanks, Greg. Getting into Marcus's collection, we've got a collection for Marcus here. Now, there's a handful of things I do like to talk about with Marcus's collection. First of all, he does show his boxes. Like, he's going to put it in there, whether it's for storage or for display, or for both. I like seeing boxes displayed if you can work it into your display. So, there it is, another way to display your boxes, and it's very neat and very orderly and very organized, and I like that. So, anyway, getting into it, the overall look of this, we've got some free-floating shelves on the right, we've got some shelving in the middle there, and it's all displayed very symmetrically, top to bottom, and looks very nice. Got uses of risers in there, large and small bots. Let's get into looking closer. Here's an Autobot car shelf, and they just look good. They really do. They look good the way it's all set up, and it's clean, and you see every bot. And yes, you could cram 90 figures in there, or you could just use the empty space and have these 5. Here's the 86 movie shelf, and I do want to point out that he's utilizing empty space. Sometimes less is more. This works, less is more on this shelf. So that's one of the things that you might want to be a takeaway from displays. Not cramming a whole bunch of stuff in there isn't the best looking display. I think something like this is very tasteful, and it works, and it's just enough to look amazing. I was thrown off for a second with the cup, and I was like, oh wait, this is Masterpiece, and it does look great. And oddly enough, the cup works. Here goes some more of the Autobots in Marcus's collection, and they look great. Just, of course, they look great. So, working with the bigger ones in the back, smaller ones in the front, and all of them posed and doing what needs to go on. So, I like the way it looks. And here we go with, at the top of the shelf that we saw, and this is some Decepticons, and we've got an elevated shelf in the back. So I'm not really sure exactly how that was pulled off, but it's still cool. And the thing is that it looks like it's part of the shelf, like it should be there. Like this is part of the environment, and we've got Megatron and them in the back up higher, and then some Seekers in the front, and that really works. And of course, the cassettes that work in there. So everything, like I said in the beginning, very symmetrical. And we've got a couple of mainline bots. So integrating some of the mainline figures with the Masterpiece, and they all look cohesive. See, this is one of those things. This is his collection, and he's doing it and doing it well. But if you really kind of wonder, what do these Dinobots look like next to, say, a Takara Ultra Magnus? That's what they look like. I think Hasbro hit a home run on the first 2 dinos, and the other 3, they just have to get made in the leader scale. I don't care if Hasbro eventually takes a hit because they're not as popular. They need to get made because these look so great. I am very impressed with what Hasbro did with those. And one last shelf, and I think they look great. I do want to point out something. There's some Final Victory figures in here, and they look great. I felt like this from the day I got my first set of the Final Victory. So that works, and it integrates well. And with all these other trade-ups that are going on and all these new figures coming out, the Final Victory still, in my opinion, hold up well on a shelf. So anyway, Marcus, thank you for submitting your pictures. It looks great. Okay, so getting into Ray's collection. Ray likes to submit a lot of pictures. He does a lot of custom work and works on his... I'm not sure if anything was actually done to Tesla, but he did take a picture of Tesla. But I think that it's like custom accent paint work, but it's kind of hard to tell. But good old 1.0 Tesla! And some of these pictures are a little bit in the fuzzy range. I think a lot of it has to do with the lighting that's going on. But anyway, yeah, I'm not the greatest with my own lighting. So, looking at this, there's some Dinobots and Optimus Prime. But the background, I think, is 100% homemade, like that wall. Because he has a big old wall of this stuff. And he did make his own arc and all that kind of stuff, too. So, there's a lot, too, with the customization of the backgrounds that make a big deal and a big difference when you're making your own displays. Here we go with a Devastator and an Omega Supreme. I think this is the DX9, so I absolutely love my DX9. So these look good together. Nice close-up shot. So we got a couple of triple changers here, and this is the Octane from, I believe this one is the KFC or X-Transbots one. And then that Astro Train, but I'm not sure which Astro Train that is. But anyway, we've got a couple of them here, and that's a background he made himself, so looking pretty cool. Now this is, I think this is a Masterpiece custom-made Elita 1, or somehow it is a custom, and it looks great, by the way. I like how this looks, and he does a lot of this custom work, and then, of course, the background, homemade too, looking amazing. This Elita 1 looks great. I just don't know if any of the other companies are going to make one that looks better than this. And a customized, KO oversized Oymec version of the Abominus. The thing about this is that thing was just a little bit too small for my liking. So I think that he did some stuff to make it taller, and then did some wash to it to make it look like it's a little bit battle damaged here and there. And so really upgrading those parts, because I was a little disappointed in the Oymec itself straight up. But with a little customization, you can make it a much better bot, a much bigger bot that would fit in with your collection so much better. I think he did a pretty good job with the customization of it. Right, thanks for sending in your pictures. I love seeing your customs when you make them, so keep those pictures coming. Thanks for all those submissions. I will have a link up for the 13,000 subscriber special on Facebook shortly. And let me know what you guys think about these collections. Did you get any ideas? And what's the takeaway from all this? Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe. Tydarium Hanger out.